We don't have to talk about where the map went again, do we?
I hope not. God in heaven.
Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones, Indiana. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we have a cruel and vicious prank played on us by the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm the cruel prank, Pete Mummert.
Gerald Christopher. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? This is what they do in the fucking movie with Marcus? They just spread all over a great character like this? This is like that Boba Fett death in the Sarlacc pit with the Sarlacc burps. Is bull. Porter.
I'm Eric Drysdale.
Oh, hi, Eric. How you doing?
I'm all right.
It's good to have you back with us.
It's good to be back.
For this peaceful and fun minute of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Which minute is that? It's minute 55. And minute 55 is the one that begins with Elsa saying that the diary used to include a map with no names, and it ends with Jerry's confirmation name being invalidated by the Vatican.
I'm just going to say, this is probably my least favorite minute of the entire trilogy.
I can see that.
I'm excited for this minute. I'm excited to talk about this minute because I'm amazed at my reaction to it. I'll just say that.
I'm surprised at my reaction as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's really
another fight on
this
it.
is really where what is that actor's name that plays Donovan?
Julian Glover.
Julian Glover, yeah.
Okay, this is really where his bad American accent really kicks in a huge way.
Okay.
Where are these missing diary pages? This map. We must have the maps back.
You know what's funny? He sounds exactly like the assistant principal. Like, Mr. Porter, you're in my
It's not an authoritative, evil voice.
Yeah, it's really
Who
flat.
drew with poo all over the wall?
No, it is.
They're going to be strung up by their Buster Browns.
Mr. Porter, I'm going to need to see you and your parents in the office.
Exactly. You know exactly why you're in here. It's just really weird. It is. And he's such a great actor, but the line is just flat and strange.
Well, it's interesting because then Elsa, he says they must have the pages back, and then Elsa says you're wasting your breath. He won't tell us, he doesn't have to. It's perfectly obvious where the pages are. And she looks at Indy and she says he's given them to Marcus Brody. And I'm wondering, is she actually helping Indy here? Is she actually talking Donovan out of having Indy tortured for the diary? Because she gives him a little look. She gives him a kind of she kind of walks over and she looks a lot more sort of severe, like her lines and her hair and her makeup, and she seems kind of mean. But she kind of gives Indy a little bit of a smile right before she says Marcus has him. But at first I was like, well, yeah, she's selling out Marcus. But then I wonder, is she actually protecting Indy a little bit here?
Interesting.
That's a no.
That's probably
I mean, it is interesting. It is all your ideas are always interesting, Pete, but
How come you just get to say no when all these crackpot ideas come up and I got to act like I'm interested in them and they make sense and they're worth discussing? No one told me I was allowed to do that.
no, I like that. That is good. But it calls the question: how does she know that Indy gave it to Marcus? Just how does she know that?
Yeah, is that just purely because Marcus is the only other guy on the trip?
Is it just like conjecture, but she's saying it with confidence?
Yeah. I mean, knowing Indy, he could have blown his nose with it or something.
Yeah, or how does she know he didn't hide it under like the couch cushion? Or he could have done a lot of things with it.
Yeah.
You know what's strange is Elsa says that, or maybe I think it's Elsa. She says that the map had precise directions.
I wrote down those exact words.
Yeah, precise directions. I saw that map.
We saw that map. We saw that thing.
And we read the directions.
It was a line and some bumps.
Yeah.
And a
was like-
squiggle or something.
Turn left at the cactus and
Yeah.
turn right when you see a bird. And yeah.
The legend at the bottom is actually a guy shrugging. I don't know. There's really only one thing to talk about in this minute, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, Indy's get.
Before we get there,
Okay.
Indy kind of wears this pained expression on his face, and Henry says, "Marcus, you didn't drag poor Marcus along, did you? He's not up to the challenge." And I'm wondering, is Henry serious, or is he trying to get Donovan off of the trail? Like, does Henry think that Marcus is kind of inept and can't do this, or is he just trying to protect Marcus?
Unfortunately,
I think you mean.
yeah. I don't think he's trying to protect Marcus. I mean, Henry
No.
is actually. He's just sort of like a guy who tells the truth almost all the time. I mean, whether it and he doesn't care what the consequences are. I think he
Right.
just says,
I'm not sure I buy that.
yeah.
I'm finding him more complex than I think I did. You know, he knew enough not to trust Elsa.
Mm-hmm.
He might be a little wilier. Like, this might be a little bit of an act. Like, this might be a little bit, I'm going to act the absent-minded professor, and that way I can kind of couch my true intentions in this hunt.
But then what would be the
He might
what
not
would be
be
the
too, but-
advantage of that of him saying that? How would that help?
Well,
like
Yeah.
they're gonna go.
Because Donovan's going to say, oh, this guy's easy to get. This is going to be no problem. Whereas Marcus is actually, they're not going to expend, like, the huge amount of effort if they think that Marcus is a mastermind.
See, I would agree with you, except that he says, like a few minutes ago, like in front of the Nazis and God and everyone, Indy's dad says, "You didn't bring the Grail with you, did you? Did you?" Like, he just
Yeah.
there's no
Or the diary,
filter.
yeah.
That's true.
That's what I mean.
That's
The
true.
diary. Yeah,
That's
he
true.
just kind of throws it out there. Just there's no filter.
And
Well,
I feel like he and Marcus are peers. They're kind of on the same
Yeah.
level in a way. They're the same kind of dude in a lot of ways. Like, they hang out at the same library and the same tea shops and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I do think that Henry's like, he might be like the wiliest guy in like the Algonquin Round Table group or something. Like, and he's just like crazy enough to like hit somebody with an umbrella or something. And like he'll survive on an adventure with his son, and Marcus kind of won't quite, but that kind of makes sense, So yeah, I don't think he's making it up that Marcus isn't up to the challenge or whatever.
Well, and when he says Marcus isn't up to the challenge, I go, does Indy's dad even know Marcus? I mean, that's
yeah.
what's going through my mind.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, but then
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Why would he say he's not up for the challenge?
Well, then let's ask the converse, because Indy then says the exact opposite.
Exactly.
Is Indy
Okay.
lying, or does Indy believe that Marcus is up to the challenge? Like, do they both
Okay,
think they're
so
telling the truth, or is Indy just taunting the Nazis? Or what's
I
going
actually have the quote here.
on? Okay.
And I think you'll like this, Pete. The quote that Indy says is, "Because I'm so furious." This is the worst minute. I wrote it all down.
This is tough.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yes,
wrote it
this
all
is
down
tough.
too.
Hold my hand, Tommy.
Okay, I'm with you.
Brody's got friends in every town and village from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, disappear. You'll never see him again. With any luck, he's got the Grail already. Now, look at that and I go, yes, Indiana Jones knows Marcus the same way that I know Marcus. As a matter of fact, he probably, Marcus was probably Indiana Jones' confirmation sponsor. And took his name
Yeah.
Marcus. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's we know. So I don't think Indy's lying here. I think that's
don't think
who
he's either.
Marcus the character is.
Oh, I think Indiana Jones is absolutely lying right here. I think he
Oh,
knows
I
who
do
Marcus
too.
is, and I know that he knows that Marcus wouldn't survive out there in the wild. Yeah.
Maybe I thought Marcus was maybe trying to pull a fast one on Indy, like when he says, "Well, I would have gone after the Ark a couple of years ago," and he's like, "Yeah, I bet he would have."
And we all kind of called BS on that when he said that. We're like, really,
Yeah.
Marcus? Would you have? I don't know. But this
See,
is
I
the
always
cruelest part of the movie. It
believed-
says I believed it when the first time I saw the movie. I believed what Indiana Jones was saying. I was like, oh my God, that's
Yes.
awesome. He's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Marcus has got this. He's awesome. He's the man in Havana. He's got it all covered. And then my heart broke a little bit.
A
We'll
little
talk
bit.
later about
A
whether or not my
little
heart's
bit.
broken now. No, we'll get there.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this, and this is the darkest pit of this trilogy for me, is that, no, I think Indiana Jones is lying here. but I have such denial because the anger, and I'm so blinded with rage that I just have to lie to myself and make up a bunch of confabulations and ridiculous stories about how actually Indiana Jones really believes that, I mean, we share the same hero. It's Marcus Brody. Not Marcus Prokaryote. This stupid unicellular dullard who doesn't know anything, only speaks English and ancient Greek. What the f***?
That's impressive. I don't know ancient Greek.
That's like a sophomore in high school.
Well, listen. We said like way at the beginning, like in the first week of the show, that people love this movie, but they get furious about a couple of things, and one of them is Sol. Solid too, but also Marcus. That they kind of ruin Marcus. And I think I said way back then that watching this again more recently for the first time in a long time, I was surprised at how little I was bothered by Marcus this time. And how like the when you take the percentages of all his scenes, there's like a thin slice of the pie that is Marcus being kind of an insufferable goofball, like that makes you kind of sad and rings the sad bell and everything.
I wonder if it's like partly because Indy's dad sort of like was always sort of brushing the dust off of his shoulder. Like, you couldn't have two guys doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You had to have one guy who was kind of a wreck and one guy who could roll with it, and then Indy who was on top of everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to bring him back and then you're going to do this to him, just don't invite him back. If you don't have anything nice to say about Marcus Brody, then just don't invite him.
Also, maybe he's got other things going on in his life that got him stressed out.
That's true.
Like, we don't know. There's a missing scene where he's getting audited.
Yeah.
Yeah. The museum's underwater.
Yeah. His kid's failing English.
Yeah, worse, maybe the museum's getting audited.
Right. It's entirely possible.
The movie officially ends here for me.
Now, see, you know what?
Look, I say, hey, Marcus has the Grail, and he lives forever, speaking whatever goddamn language he pleases, blending in for all of eternity.
So we're dancing around the punchline to this joke,
right,
that this is all leading up to, which I'm guessing is what you're talking about. Is the worst moment.
And I'll read the line here. This is what Marcus says when they cut to that awfulness. He says, quote, "Does anyone here speak English or even ancient Greek? Oh, water, no thank you, sir, although fish make love in it."
See, that line, which I'd never heard before, is awesome.
I love
it. And it actually saves Marcus's entire character for me.
Yeah,
because
I like this line too.
He's out of his element. Okay, Jerry, if you and I were talking about this 5 years ago or something, I was just remembering this movie, I'd be like, yes, they should have cut off Marcus's head or something rather than have him in the movie the way that he is. Like this doddering goofball who's just like an idiot. But then seeing him here and thinking about it, he's the line about, he's refusing water because fish make love in it. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's actually funny, and it's smart, and it's a Marcus thing to say.
Is he making a joke?
Yeah.
I think he
is he delirious from the heat and saying crazy things?
I think this is what this line put me in mind of. If you frame Marcus this way, it might save the movie for you, or at least the Marcus parts of it for you. We want Marcus to be this cool, the guy who Indiana Jones just described, that he'll blend in, you'll never see him again, he's got the Grail already, he's awesome, he's got friends everywhere. And you sort of expect that. But then when you see him, you're like, oh, you know what? He's not that guy at all. And there's nothing in Raiders, that's the only other movie we've seen him in. There's nothing in Raiders that suggests that he would be that guy. If you think of him, like, would Gore Vidal be awesome on an adventure? Would he handle himself well? Or would he be like this and refusing water because fish make love in it?
Yeah.
Like, if you think of Marcus as that kind of guy, then he's awesome. And I think that's kind of who Marcus is.
And he did go on Indy asked him to go to this real. I mean, this is 1938. This is not an easy place to get to, and he got there. He went there.
Yeah.
He made contact with Saul. He did everything that was asked of him. He's just like Herman. He did everything that he needed to do, and he's game for anything. He might not be incredibly like young and adventurous and lithe like Indy is, but he's still making it go at it.
But what is Marcus? I mean, what do we know about him? We know that he's. I mean, is he an economics professor or something? I mean, nothing against economics professors, but you're like, no, he's an. We know him as like Indy's mentor, and he's an archaeologist. He's an archaeologist.
We don't know that he's an archaeologist. No one ever said he was an archaeologist.
You don't think that he's
a museum curator.
He's just a museum curator. So as somebody who deals in antiquities and museum curation, this dude has never been to Turkey or Anatolia, whatever you want to call it. He's never been
Henry Jones
anywhere.
never left his study, and he's been studying the Grail for 40
but I mean,
years.
he's
never left his back room.
introduced to us that way.
I don't know that he is, though. I think that if you look at Raiders, he's the guy. He's awesome at a cocktail party.
Yep.
He's holding court in the corner of a cocktail party with a cigarette in his hand, and kind of holding court there.
I mean, I
he's
understand
awesome
where you're going with this, and that's cool. I understand Marcus isn't really the field worm, and he doesn't have a bullwhip or carry one around or that. But I don't think that this dude has never been out of the country. Does anyone speak
he's gone
English?
to France.
He's been to Venice.
He's been to Venice. He had a nice time there.
Yeah, but so
he's
he's
been
been
there
to
before.
Venice, and let's go with what you said. Say he's been to France. Is this dude landing in Turkey and being like, does anyone here speak English? I mean, if you're telling me that he's like a little bit eccentric because fish make love in water, I can get behind that. That's fine. You're like, oh, he's kind of like, he's a little disoriented, whatever. He's on this thing by himself, whatever. He's got to figure out. He's got this bogus-ass map that's got a scribble. And so he's kind of like, okay, sure. I get that. He's a little eccentric, sure. But does anyone here speak English? And by the way, he clearly speaks ancient Greek. So he's never been to Turkey? I mean, he's never been to anywhere on any of these sorts of diggings at all, ever? He can't navigate a train station.
Well, he's in a little town train station. It's also possible if he has been to these places before, they've, like if he would go under the aegis of his university, they would probably have somebody meet him at the train station and shepherd him to the site. And like someone would be taking care of everything. So here he's the first time, well, I'm doing this all on my own. I got to find someone that speaks English.
The thing is that the kind of looking at his character through the lens of this moment is a trap, because it's set up to humiliate him.
Right.
Thank
it's the punchline of a joke.
It's the punchline of a joke.
And it's
what's called in the business a hello Laverne.
Well, good. I feel like someone.
Because it's
I feel like someone just said hello, Laverne.
In Laverne and Shirley, when they would say, "That's the lowest, most disgusting person I've ever heard of," and then Lenny and Squiggy would come in and go, "Hello, Laverne."
Hello. Yeah, I love that. The door flies open. Hello.
And I'd always heard of this as the Gilligan cut. Because every time,
sure.
It's the same sort of situation.
But to relegate Marcus to it's just a cheap gag.
This is the low point for Marcus, though. That's the thing. This is the low point.
It's just a stupid gag.
It's a gag. It's unfortunate that he's the punchline of this gag, and it does feel like a cruel gut punch from the movie to have Indiana Jones introduce him this way, and then you get this. But I don't want this, Jerry, to sour you on Marcus for the rest of the movie, because I think he might be okay.
Well, you know
That's
what?
all I'm saying.
I would actually listen to you, except while I'm down, I would have listened to you, and maybe you could pull me out of this dark place.
I'm going to try.
Quicksand of gags. But they put a flapping chicken in this scene.
He's electrophobic, Jerry.
It's just insult when you're already down and just kicking. There's a flapping chicken, like chaos. He doesn't know what to do. There's a flapping chicken around him.
It's texture. It's mise en scène. It's whatever you got there. It's a Laverne. Hello, Laverne.
Hello, Laverne.
See, I like it because he's been talking a big talk. Like, he's kind of like Indy. He's been talking a big talk ever since Indy's known him, but he's never known him like Indy's dad has. And so now all of a sudden we see what he's really like out in this situation. He's like, well, yeah, I'm not actually sure what I'm doing.
But if we follow that storyline, then you're going back and going, well, Marcus Brody is full of it.
I don't think he ever sold himself.
And he's full of it.
I don't think he ever sold himself that way, though.
But why is Marcus Brody talking the big talk? We know him. He's the guy who,
I don't think he is.
He sets up the meeting. Well, that's what I'm
when
asking.
When is he talking
Pete.
the big talk? Yeah.
Well, he says he would have gone after the art.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of like, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's just he wants to feel young and cool like Indiana Jones. And so he's kind of like, yeah, I would have done that.
I don't get the sense, I'm with Tom, like, this is showing him in a very bad moment, but it doesn't make me think that that character's always an incompetent buffoon.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. He's out of his element. This isn't his thing.
You keep saying that, and that would work if the dude wasn't actually. He speaks ancient Greek, and he sets up he's best friends with Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? Who's the preeminent architect? How the fuck is this guy out of his element? When he's in Alexandria,
he operates out of an office
element.
or something. He's he makes deals and stuff, and he wears a suit.
He raises money.
Yeah.
He's a
He records audio guides.
Wait a minute.
When you hear this sound, turn the page.
Do you guys, both of you, Tommy and Pete, do you guys believe this? Do you really believe this?
I believe this, and I'm surprised by it. Jerry, for decades, I felt exactly the way you do. And I was like, why do they do this to Marcus? This isn't Marcus. Why do they ruin Marcus? But now, doing this minute by minute and watching this very closely and thinking about it very hard and wanting to like Marcus, I don't think I'm like lying to myself or tricking myself. I think that this is all true to the Marcus we've ever seen. Maybe we got an idea that he was cooler just because we only saw him in his natural habitat of like a school and talking to army guys in suits and dishing on Tanis and Well of Souls and everything. But I think that this is him. I don't think this is untrue to Marcus. And there are moments after this where I like Marcus, and I don't think it's easy to see this scene and then think of everything that comes later as Marcus is a buffoon, but I don't think that's accurate.
Pete?
Yeah, what Tom said. We've had this kind of storm warning up for a while. And I also hated Marcus. Like when we started this, I was like, oh God, this is horrible. And then a couple months before we started this, I was told I watched all 4 of these movies back to back, and I had a few revelations, and this was one of them. I don't love what they did with Marcus here. I'm sort of in the middle, but I don't hate it like I did either. I think what Tom is saying is equally valid, because I feel like we were building our own in our own imagination, just like we had an idea of what the Clone Wars were like and what Anakin Skywalker was like. Yeah. But that wasn't necessarily in the the story of the movie. It's just what we had put into our imaginations after several years of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Eric, where are you on this?
I'm in the same place. I'm very convinced by Tom's argument that he's a guy who spends a lot of time in a desk and recording audio guides for the museum and is out of his element. Even though, but that does not excuse just a terrible, terrible Hello Laverne moment.
That's true.
I mean, they really, and again, you can't look at it because they we actually in the previous minute that we talked about, it was really one of the great comic moments in any of the films. Yeah. And it's not easy to do. And they screwed it up this time.
It does feel like you wonder if they you almost wonder if they didn't make this gag, if they didn't want to make this one joke, does this joke influence the rest of his character for the rest of the movie? If they didn't want to make this gag, could he have been a little more together and handling himself better? He still might get grabbed by the Nazis and stuff, but maybe
how do you make the transition from scene to scene if you don't do this gag?
I don't know. You don't do the whole build up with, oh, she gave it to Marcus Brody, and cut to Marcus Brody, buying a candy bar at the Eskedron train station, reading the paper. Oh, Sala, good to see you. Yeah, Indy sent me with this map for some reason. It's just a stupid scribble.
Well, so I guess I'm Gerald Christopher St. Buffoon Porter.
There you go.
Yeah.
Gosh, you know what I'm realizing as we're talking about this never occurred to me before, but this is his exact arc in Trading Places as well. Denham Elliott's. He's this cool, together, proper butler, and then all of a sudden he's like wearing like a Irish priest outfit and making fart jokes and stuff, and yeah, it doesn't make sense there either.
I guess they sacrifice a great character, what I think is a great character, and a strong character, a character I admire. For a silly, stupid Hello Laverne gag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you can read it equally validly the way you are, Tom, and the way you are, Jerry. And I think you can be outraged by it or be okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can look at it both
ways.
ways.
And what's tough is...
I'd much rather just have Raiders Marcus.
Yeah. Well, there's no point to it. There's just no
and
point to
it. And you don't know what the intention was. There could have been a scene cut out where we see him being expert again, like lots of stuff happens when you write and rewrite. You kind of lose the thread of one thing or another.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're thrilled to have him back, and so there's very little that they would really need to do to make you happy. I mean, I'm thrilled of Marcus and Raiders, and he does very little. He's kind of the guy who makes it happen, and he's the guy that Indy has respect for. I mean, he doesn't really cozy up or isn't real buddy-buddy with too many people, but he does respect Marcus, and you get the impression, Marcus makes this whole arc thing happen for him and pulls the strings and he gets the money, that sort of thing. Like if Indy's in trouble, who does he go to? Well, he'd probably go to Marcus. Mm-hmm. And then this is just
under the right circumstances, Marcus would be a perfect guy to help him. Like back in the States, he would know people.
This just serves nothing, and it's not even, that's the thing. It just serves nothing for any of the characters at all, and it's not, that's all. I'll stop. It's okay.
It does feel like it's at the expense of Marcus. It does feel like that.
Yes, it's at the expense of Marcus, and we have, I guess there's a good 8 years of building up, from 81 to 89. You're thinking about Marcus Brody.
Yeah, that's all I did.
Especially if that's your middle name.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But also, somewhere between 81 and 89, I got confirmed.
But I also think, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I also think it's genuinely a funny moment. Like, I think that transition is genuinely a very funny thing. And I think it's
the fish line is funny.
I think that's funny. And I think the transition is funny.
Yeah,
and
if it was someone else.
But I think this movie is the opposite of Temple of Doom. Like, this is not a movie that's dark and gloomy. This is a movie that's going to lean heavily on fun and kind of whimsical and funny, and that's where they went with it.
Yeah. Fun can be stupid, though, and not in a good way. Fun can be, why'd you do that?
You hate fun.
I think that there's no reason why that moment couldn't have worked better as a joke, and I think that just take some of that goofiness out. Don't have him say the line about the fish, because
I like the
it doesn't
fish
make
line.
any sense.
I do too.
Just bring down the buffoonishness, 30%, and I think that it would be a little more bearable.
Does anyone speak English?
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
it's like he should have like a frilly hat from a grandmother or something on, and like a shawl wrapped around
like a
him
wig. Yeah, exactly. You summed it up, Tom, and then I'll gather myself.
Okay, it's gonna be
all right.
I'll gather
myself here.
I feel like you're really discombobulated, Jerry.
You're having a hard time.
I said ichthyophobic and electrophobic, and I got no reaction at all from you.
Aw.
No, I like the ichthyophobic. You said, Tom, why'd you do that?
Wait, I did?
Yeah, you go, why'd you do that? Like, to the way you said sometimes fun is with fun, you go, why'd you do that? That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I don't need this damn fun.
Fun's for
Oh
losers.
God.
Did you notice that there are a lot of people in this crowd dressed like members of the Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword?
Oh, really?
There
I
are
saw a
several
little of
gentlemen
that.
wearing kind of pinstriped suits and
Yeah.
red fezzes, and
Oh, sure. Yeah.
like I wonder if this is just like ground zero for the organization, or if just everyone happens to dress
Maybe
like
they
like
pass
they came
those
from
out.
here and they.
They pass out the fezzes when they come to town to help cover them. You know, they blend into the crowd better than.
I couldn't watch them. The entire screen was just blurry through tears.
Oh,
I couldn't. I couldn't see fezzes.
feel
Or,
bad.
I saw a flapping chicken and I turned it off.
You want somebody to just walk up and stick a pie in his face.
Yeah.
For no reason. This is there. Well, do you have anything else for 55? Jared's having a tough time. He'd like to go home.
Yeah, I have something. There's something coming through the wire here, and it's
Oh, maybe this will cheer you up, Jared.
boop-a-doop-a-doop.
Oh, a message from a friend. Boop-a-doop-a-doop.
boop 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 boop. Let me see here. I have it. This just in from my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I think my brother needs a little love and care this week. Those of you on the Listeners Crusade, please just maybe put an arm around him or something as best you can.
Aw.
Also, question about the movie. Who enjoys lying more, Indy or Elsa?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I don't think...
Indy.
Has Indy ever pretended to be something that he wasn't for like an extended period of time? Besides like...
A waiter on a
Oh,
Zeppelin.
that's true. A waiter on a
The
Zeppelin.
Scottish
a,
Lord.
Spoiler
a
alert.
Scottish Lord,
Lord.
yeah.
Yeah. But who gets more glee out of it?
Yeah, he seems to do it for a purpose, like to
Yeah.
get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And she maybe is digging it more. She's
She really chews the scenery. Like she really like.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
digging into this role. Every role she's lying her way through, she's digging into.
yeah.
Like I think she's having a lot of fun.
Is the sexy lady Nazi a real thing? Is that like a thing
That's an
that
excellent question. Wow.
Yeah.
You mean
That's a
were there
cool-
actual
were
sexy
there actual
lady
sexy
Nazis?
ladies Nazi spies? I don't
That's-
know.
So you know what you
That's
do?
a-
You go to Google and you type in "sexy Nazi lady."
I tried
see
that.
what
I did
comes up.
not. I got something really not
Oh.
what I was looking for.
Well,
'Cause
the computer
Elsa.
doesn't lie.
No, there's the really famous. There's the really famous one. The I forgot her name right now. The Jewish lady who they got to be. They called her, I think, the blonde assassin. And
Oh, wow.
She would rat out fellow Jews to the Nazis
Oh.
because she could pass as Aryan, but she knew everybody from the community. Like they got her out of a concentration camp and said, the only way you're going to live is if you rat out these huge number of people. So she would go to nightclubs
Yeesh.
and everything, and people who were hiding, she'd be like, hey, I remember that guy from the neighborhood. And the Nazis would get him.
That's
And
not
she
that
was
hot.
like,
That's
That's
not
not sexy at all.
but she was famous. She was famous as being super sexy. Like she was famous
Yeah.
as being like this beautiful, gorgeous blonde bombshell.
Wow. Huh.
I would say Elsa. I think Elsa's a fantastic liar.
Like she really is in the highest levels of like. Because don't we see her like with Hitler later, or is that so?
Basically,
Yeah.
you know, at least yeah. In
Or
his
like,
presence,
but she's
kinda,
like,
yeah.
she's riding around with the general. Mm-hmm. Like, she's pretty high up, and she's like sexy Nazi lady.
Yeah.
But I think this is also kind of like Raiders was playing off the 1930s serials. I think this is also playing off like after the war, there was a whole subgenre of stuff where there was like the sexy Nazi SS dominatrix or the sexy
Oh, yeah.
Nazi, you know, and like people really, really dug that for some reason for a while after the war. And I think this is partially tongue in cheek talking about that.
Okay.
I don't touch the sexy Nazi lady stuff with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always got to watch out for
I
them.
just back out of the room on that one. Like, oh, not for me. Shade down.
For the record, full disclosure, I did fully just type in "sexy Nazi lady" into my computer.
And did you find
And,
out what Eric came up with too?
Yeah, I think I did. I see what you're talking about, Eric. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
You guys finished the show without me. Okay. I got a computer to ruin.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Eric.
Yes.
Let's pull us out of this.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm
Did you
doing
have
good.
fun?
How are you? I did have fun.
Excellent. We're so glad you could join us for these couple of minutes, and we're sorry to see you go. But maybe you'll come back again someday. There's a fourth movie apparently, and it's supposed to be the worst thing anyone's ever seen. You want to come back for that one?
You know what? I've never seen it.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, this would be great.
Yeah,
fresh
no,
meat.
yeah.
Yeah. Why?
We'll call you in the distant future.
I haven't heard a lot of great things about it.
Yeah, no, neither have I. We'll see what happens. But that's a ways off. What do you got going on right now? What do you want the people to know about you?
Well,
This is your moment to shine.
my day job is that day job. I mean, it's my life. I write for the Sam B show, the Full Frontal with Samantha B on TBS network, and then I also do shows of my 3D photography collection, and I have one coming up on May 5th if you're in the New York area in Astoria at QED Astoria. If you go to, it's a lot of words. I've picked a terrible name for my thing. It's called Mid-Century Stereo Panorama. So go to midcenturystereopanorama.com.
You should, because
it has all the information.
you were
there.
here in Chicago and you put on a little show at somebody's house that I got to go to, and it was actually amazing. It was a lot like time travel, because you got all these 3D, beautiful, clear, three-dimensional images from what are they mostly, like the 40s and 50s?
1947 to 1964.
Yeah, and it's incredible.
Thank you.
It's like, oh, I'm in a department store in the 1950s.
That's the idea.
Oh, I'm at somebody's pool party. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah,
So I
it really
recommend
brings you back in an incredible way.
Yeah, in ways I wasn't expecting. It's very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, May 5th in Astoria.
Awesome. Everybody go there. Check that out if you can. If not, you got other shows every now and then. We'll try to keep people apprised of them. You Indiana Jones people out there, you might want to go over to iTunes, and you know what you do is you subscribe to the show, because that makes us show up immediately in your thing, and you rate us and you review us, and that lets everyone find out more about us, and we show up better on iTunes, and we seem cooler than we already are, and that would be beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And please come back here on Monday. Same bat time. There's no channel or time because it's a podcast, but you know what I mean. For minute 56 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Jones.
Marcus.
Jones.
Poor Jerry.
Fish make love in the water.
Fish make love in the water. Fish make love in the water.
That's why I don't want to drink.